Tonight, Saskatchewan's finance minister is under fire after documents reveal she expensed thousands of dollars on a private jet just days after delivering a provincial budget full of tax hikes. Also, severe weather is once again rolling through the prairies, at the same time breaking heat records. Plus,
I'm still getting goosebumps. It's like Christmas without snow.
Saskatchewan parents celebrate as the province agrees to fund an expensive cystic fibrosis drug.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, July 18th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Saskatchewan's finance minister is being accused of being arrogant and out of touch. It follows Donna Harpower spending thousands of dollars on a private plane to North Battleford just days after she hiked taxes in the provincial budget. Laura Sharpaletti reports.
On March 23rd, Finance Minister Donna Harpower sat in the legislature and announced the government would raise taxes. That included adding a 6% provincial sales tax on sporting events and gym memberships. 2 days later, Harpower chartered a private plane from Good Spirit Air Service to fly from Regina to North Battleford to present the budget at a Chamber of Commerce luncheon. This flight was first reported by the Canadian press, and Harpower's expenses are posted online. The bill for that flight, nearly $8,000. The 400-kilometer drive would have taken approximately 4 hours.
It's not a crazy trip. To spend $8,000 to get to the Battlefords doesn't make sense. That's not right. And taxpayers shouldn't be stuck with that bill.
NDP leader Carla Beck says she has traveled thousands of kilometers by car in recent weeks to meet people across the province. She had harsh words for the private flight.
Out of touch certainly comes to mind. Entitled is another word that I think comes to mind.
Beck says ordinary citizens can't even afford a road trip right now, let alone what she calls lavish spending by the minister.
Remember, this was 2 days after a budget where the finance minister raised fees and taxes 32 times on the people of Saskatchewan. As mentioned, a time of record 40-year inflationary pressures that people are feeling. People are struggling to make ends meet.
Meanwhile, the Saskatchewan Federation of Labor calls the flight an insult to workers who are struggling to pay the bills. The finance minister should pay back the cost of the flight and apologize to working people for being so arrogant and out of touch with reality. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation also says an apology is in order.
Don't defend it, just apologize. When everybody around you knows that you did something that wasn't a good idea, you need to just admit that, wear it, and that's good accountability for taxpayers. Apologize for it. But then we still got to deal with the bill. Taxpayers shouldn't be paying this bill.
In a statement to the CBC, the province said that driving is the primary mode of in-province travel for cabinet ministers. However, the government said chartered flights are used periodically for long distances and when long drives would impact other commitments. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
Parts of southern Saskatchewan were battered by wild weather this weekend. Hail, strong wind, and even an unconfirmed tornado were reported. These photos are from Wapella, east of Regina, where winds gusted between 110 and 130 kilometers per hour on Friday night. Trees were toppled, one of them crushing this vintage pickup truck. Now, the owner of that truck says she's just glad it didn't hit her house, but she says storms have been frequent and severe this summer.
It's just been never ending. It's every time we get a storm, it's just a severe storm. Like, it's never just, lightning and rain. It's just like golf ball sized hail or tornadoes, or it's been a lot this summer.
The wicked weather didn't end there. A thunderstorm yesterday brought Toonie-sized hail to Douglas and Buffalo Pound provincial parks. Hail littered the ground and dented vehicles in the area. That same storm system brought heavy rain to concert goers at Country Thunder in Craven. Singer Lauren Elena's show was canceled, and headliner Blake Shelton took the stage about half an hour late. The heavy rain turned the festival grounds into a really muddy mess. And our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins us now with a breakdown of all that went on this weekend, and it was a lot.
Yeah, there was quite a bit for sure, Sam. We'll start in Avonhurst, just east of Regina on Friday, where they got tennis ball-sized hail, golf ball-sized hail at Strasbourg on Friday as well. And Wapella, as we heard, very strong wind gusts between 110 and 130 kilometers an hour. Esterhazy on Saturday was really the only location that got severe weather of note, close to 22 millimeters. And Rocanville without power until earlier today from that storm that moved through Friday. We need a whole new unit of measurement for these hailstones. This is a hockey puck that hail is sitting on from Sarah out at Avonhurst. And in addition to the storms, we also did break temperature records too. Cornack, Assiniboia getting close to 38 degrees and shattering some pretty old records. Weyburn getting hot too. Val-Marie, the hot spot in the country on Sunday as well as Friday. And 6 records as well broken on Saturday too, Sam. And I'll have a lot more coming up on all this heat and the storms a little later in the show.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
The government of Saskatchewan is now covering what some families consider to be a miracle drug. Trikafta is a cystic fibrosis medication, and it's expensive, about $300,000 a year before rebates. And last October, the province expanded coverage to those 12 and up. Now, it's dropping that age to 6. The Nekvital family in Regina has 2 sons with cystic fibrosis, 13-year-old Dominic and Benjamin, who's nearly 6. I spoke with their dad about what this drug coverage means.
I'm still getting goosebumps. It's like Christmas without snow. This is a huge miracle drug for those in the CF community that are eligible. It's just a great day. We were waiting and anticipating when Health Canada approved access for it here. And then once Ontario and Alberta, I believe, were the first 2 provinces to announce that they were covering or allowing coverage for the 6 to 12-year-olds. We were hoping and just, watching social media, watching the news. And then all of a sudden people started to contact us saying that this was going to happen August 1st. So obviously we're super excited. So cystic fibrosis is a fatal genetic disease. They were both diagnosed as newborns. Benjamin, obviously, being our youngest son, he hasn't seen the progression of the disease, but they already at clinic visits, they will already show us changes in the lungs, scarring that is taking place. Dominic being 13, there is some progression there as well, more so than Benjamin. So this is still a medication. This is not a cure, but this corrects things at the cellular level so that their bodies are functioning as close to normal as yours or mine would. It from an energy perspective, from a breathing perspective, from just how their body functions, there's no better word to describe it other than a miracle. The life expectancy of cystic fibrosis has changed dramatically over the last 13 years. We run a fundraiser of Hoops for Hope. It's a 3-on-3 tournament that we've ran for the last number of years, and that was our real focus, is raising funds to create this hope. It gives us a huge sense of hope and excitement for the future for both of them.
And it's not just families that are feeling hope for the future. A Saskatoon pediatric respirologist who manages a cystic fibrosis clinic says Trikafta could add decades to people's lives.
I think over time, what we're going to see is a disease that historically was essentially a death sentence when you got the diagnosis with pretty much almost 100% childhood mortality, to now we're sort of looking mid-50s in terms of mortality rates and average lifespan. And I think probably what we're going to be looking at is sort of 70s to 80s or so with this new medication. So.
A new Saskatoon City Council report is raising concerns that animal cruelty complaints are now falling to the city's police force. This comes after the Saskatoon SPCA withdrew from animal protection services due to funding issues. Yasmin Renea reports.
Before, if you saw an abused or neglected animal in Saskatoon, you could report it to the SPCA at any hour of the day. But the organization had to cease its animal protection enforcement services as of April 1st after the provincial government denied its request for $650,000.
It comes down to funding because we have limited amount of staff, and to cover these hours 24/7 is a huge amount of funding is needed for that.
The Ministry of Agriculture appointed another nonprofit called Animal Protection Services of Saskatchewan to take over animal welfare enforcement starting July 1st. But according to a City Council report, their hours of operation are only Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That means no one is available to respond to animal cruelty complaints after hours or on weekends.
This change in service level has resulted in an increase in number of calls to the Saskatoon Police Service to respond to some of the animal cruelty and welfare complaints.
The City Council report says police have received 62 calls for services related to animals or animal protection from April 1st to May 31st of this year. Several calls were about animal neglect or animals in distress, but only one was specifically related to animal cruelty. Saskatoon police say they will always investigate animal cruelty cases, but they do not have the equipment, training, or shelter agreements in place to respond to other complaints under the Animal Protection Act. The Ministry of Agriculture says it sees animal welfare as a shared responsibility and that it continues to work towards the safety and welfare of all animals in Saskatchewan and looks forward to continuing to work collaboratively with all agencies within the City of Saskatoon for the betterment of animal welfare.
The SPCA says it investigated 865 cases of animal abuse or neglect last year. The city says it's been told by the government that there are no plans to expand the hours of animal protection enforcement services. Other cities like Regina, Edmonton, and Calgary all provide cruelty investigations and animal protection services 7 days a week. Yasmin Ranea, CBC News, Saskatoon. Another teen has been charged in the death of a 14-year-old boy who was gunned down in Regina last month. The victim was Jake Longman. He was found dead in an alleyway in the 1200 block of Ray Street on June 29th. It was Regina's 6th homicide of 2022. Now, Regina police say a third youth, also a 14-year-old male, has been charged with first-degree murder. A 15-year-old and 17-year-old are also charged with murder. Their identities cannot be released due to their ages. The Saskatchewan Roughriders will not be returning to practice tomorrow in Regina. Several members of the team have tested positive for COVID-19. A statement from the team late this afternoon says several players and support staff have tested positive. They all traveled together to Nova Scotia for the Touchdown Atlantic game, a game the Riders lost 30-24 to the Argos. All players, coaches, and staff will undergo mandatory testing for the next several days, and practice is canceled tomorrow. The team expects things to resume on the field on Wednesday. The Riders are to take on the Argos again on Saturday, this time in Regina. Oh, it's another really hot day in Saskatoon, and with the heat comes all that severe summer storm potential. It could be another dark and stormy evening in Saskatchewan. Coming up, Ethan will have your forecast as we head into the back half of July. Stay with us. Officials from 40 countries are meeting at a climate conference in Berlin. At the same time, Europe and the UK are sweltering in searing temperatures. In Spain and France, wildfires have consumed tens of thousands of hectares. Flights were suspended at an airport near London because the tarmac on the runway is melting. And there are other transportation snarls as well. Ashley Burke has more.
This is expected to be one of the hottest places on the planet today, with temperatures soaring just over 40 degrees. And that's something that Britain has never felt before. And experts say the infrastructure is not in place to deal with it. Here at this train station, we're already seeing that. Officials are warning people not to come here and travel unless it is absolutely necessary. But take a look around at these crowds. It is packed in here, and we've seen a number of cancellations because the tracks here, during the heat, they expand and contract and can warp. So trains have to go slower, and also the schedule is being impacted. Schools today are also closed. We spoke to travelers here today about if they think the government should be doing more to deal with this.
For me, it feels a bit hysterical that we're not getting on trains.
It's down to ourselves to kind of adapt. I don't think we should come to a halt. And that seems to be what's happening right now. I think we just need to carry on. You know, it's hot, but it doesn't mean we need to stop.
I don't know really whether this country would be able to afford to put in a lot of infrastructure for this kind of weather.
And it's not just here in the UK. Across Europe, there is record-breaking heat that is causing chaos. A number of wildfires that are still active right now. A French official said that it's like hell on earth. Other fire officials in France are describing it as a Herculean task to try and put out these fires. In Portugal and Spain, officials estimate about 1,000 people have died so far related to this extreme heat, and thousands of others have had to flee their homes. Here in the UK, there is a red extreme weather warning that's been issued for the first time. As well, a national emergency has been declared. People are being warned there could be power outages, there could be a water shortage, mobile services could be down as this country deals with record-breaking heat. Ashley Burke, CBC News, London.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. The exclusive export event is back.
And weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now before the break. I was saying it could be a dark and stormy night, but it's not dark yet, and we've already hit stormy.
Yeah, that's right, Sam. We have a lot of storms on radar right now we're watching. One of them is severe. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to show you, this is from yesterday, or pardon me, on Friday near Rocanville with those storms that we heard about earlier. This is from Stephen Donald, a farmer in the area. Some outbuildings destroyed. He also had some grain bins that were damaged, some crops as well. Look at this, tractor trailer demolished inside of this. He estimates anywhere between $750,000 and $1 million damage on his farm from this. And this is not far from there. This is from Kyler. And this is actually insulation on the wall of his garage. And if you pan over here, or he'll pan over and you can see it on his barbecue there on the ground. That is a blown insulation that's been blown from the garage onto the ground. Very strong storms. And as I mentioned, we do have some in progress right now, specifically as part of this low pressure system, which is swirling around in southeastern Alberta, and it's now moved into portions of southwestern and west central Saskatchewan. And we do have a severe thunderstorm warning now for the Rockglen area just south of Assiniboia. And this storm is now producing up to 130 km/h wind gusts. Very strong gusts here, likely some pretty large hail and some significant rain in there. There is a tornado warning on the U.S. side of the border. The National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning there. No tornado warning yet on this, but stand by if you are in Rockglen or south of Assiniboia, as a warning could be issued at any time. And we do have severe thunderstorm watches now in place for the entire southern portion of the province as we see storms build in tonight. Heat warning still in place in the north as the criteria is a little bit lower there, and we are still hitting that over the next day or so. But as this system starts to move through tonight, it'll move from west to east, and as we get into the midnight hours into early tomorrow morning, it's likely still going to be impacting southeastern and east central Saskatchewan. And then it's the north's turn to get some rain. A few days of rain from a low pressure system moving in through the north. Wednesday, we could see some spotty showers in south and central, but then again, throughout the day Wednesday, likely some rainfall going to be impacting northern regions. And this is for the south part of the province through the day tomorrow. This is most of this moisture is going to be coming tonight. And keep in mind, these amounts will be higher because of thunderstorms, but not ruling out maybe 20 to 30 millimeters of rain possible. And wind gusts going to be an issue as well. Throughout the night tonight, looking for gusts between 40 and 50 kilometers an hour in many regions. Tomorrow morning, especially, you're going to be feeling that in the south part of Saskatchewan. They'll be picking up towards 60 kilometers an hour in the southeast as we head through tomorrow afternoon, and then they are back for much of south and central as we head through Wednesday. Next few days in Regina do look like we are going to get a break from storm activity, especially after tomorrow, after that system moves through, and temperatures actually look pretty nice for the rest of the week. Saskatoon, a breezy couple of days, but some nice sunshiny days. I don't want to say anything, Sam, because when I do, that likely means that the storms are just going to keep happening, but maybe we're in a bit of a calmer pattern here.
Well, I'm noting noticing the temperatures are also significantly cooler, so you may be correct.
Yes, humidex I think is going to be lower. We could just be in for a nice end of July.
Sweet, sweet relief.
Yes.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Well, it is the end of an era. You may or may not have noticed that the iconic I Love Regina sign is no longer standing outside City Hall. Officials won't say who decided to remove it or why. The sign was put up in 2004. The city noted that the I Love Regina logo really has changed over the years, and so far the sign has been replaced by a potted plant. We'll be back after the break. There's new criticism about how police responded to the deadly school shooting in Uvalde, Texas in May. A comprehensive report concludes police put their own safety ahead of saving the lives of children and teachers. The chaotic police response was captured in newly released footage from the scene. Magda Gabriel-Salas has the details.
Before, during, and after, 19 children and 2 teachers were gunned down in a Texas elementary school.
There were multiple systemic failures.
Surveillance footage helped come to that conclusion. It shows police were in the school about 3 minutes after the attacker entered. They backed up from the classroom and waited after coming across gunfire. Waited while children inside called 911 for help. It took more than an hour before police shot and killed the attacker.
That day, several officers in the hallway or in that building knew or should have known there was dying in that classroom. And they should have done more, acted with urgency. Tried the door handles, tried to go in through the windows.
There were nearly 400 officers from various agencies on site. The report says having no overall commander contributed to the chaos. But the report notes even a flawless response would not have saved most of the victims who were killed moments after the gunman entered the school. Problems with the school's security were highlighted too.
In fact, all 3 exterior doors to the building were unlocked that day, and multiple interior doors were not secured the day of the shooting.
The committee behind this report say they hope lawmakers and policing agencies can use this to take action. Uvalde's mayor says it's already happening.
We are doing an internal investigation, and we will look at every officer's actions that day.
The acting police chief that day has been placed on leave.
They're a joke. They got no business wearing a badge.
Vincent Salazar's granddaughter Layla was killed in the shooting. Even now, he seems to have little faith in the investigation.
Everybody's covering up for everybody else.
Magda Gabriel-Salas, CBC News, Washington.
And Ethan is back with one last look at tonight's weather.
And possibly some severe weather tonight in Regina, Sam, but that clears out as we go through the overnight. We're at 16 tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. with some lingering showers, very strong wind gusts out of the north. As we head to the noon hour, though, we will get a little bit of clearing. Chance of showers by noon, 22 degrees with those winds close to 50 kilometers an hour. 8 a.m. in Saskatoon, looks like we will clear out and see a mix of sun and cloud at 20. Again, northwest wind gusts picking up significantly, and they will stay fairly significant through the day. Will be at 27 by noon, and keep in mind a little bit of a humidex in Saskatoon at that point as well. Want to remind you of a severe thunderstorm warning now on this storm, and this is for the RMs of Hart Butte, Old Post, Poplar Valley, and Willow Bunch, and places like Rock Glen, Willow Bunch, and Cornack are impacted by this storm, Sam, which is packing gusts up to 130 kilometers an hour, so everyone should take shelter in that area now.
Definitely something to keep an eye on tonight. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Glenn and Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and have a great night.